El Baile de Diables, or Dance of the Devils, is a popular tradition from Catalonia that involves hundreds of performing troops dancing in the streets with maces spewing fireworks. It's a wild pyrotechnic festival that is observed by crowds of enthralled spectators. Your goal is to put on the most spectacular performance for this crowd in the new game Diables by designer Danny Garcia and publisher Salt and Pepper Games. Keep in mind, this game is currently seeking funding on Gamefound. I'll leave a link to the crowdfunding campaign in the description below. As you can see, I have Diable all set up for a solo game. Right off the bat, you need to know that this game is highly thematic. The rulebook goes into unprecedented detail describing how each and every mechanism directly corresponds to a real facet of the festival. I'm not going to get into those details in this video. I recommend checking out the rulebook on Board Game Geek if you're interested in learning more about all the thematic connections. For our purposes, it's enough to know that you're putting on this performance in order to earn fame points from the crowd, which you'll get when they take photos and record videos to post over here onto social media. On our player board here, we have our performance troupe, which are essentially workers. Yes, this is a worker placement game, but one with many unusual features. There are two types of workers. Drummers, which are a little hard to see, but here we'll lay it flat. We have 6 drummers over here, which have been unlocked. And then we have 7 over here, which have not been unlocked yet. The other category of workers are performers. There are 4 types of performers. Devils, which are these guys. Characters, which are these. Small beasts, and then the one very large beast. The ones over here have all been unlocked. These over here, all of them on the left side of your board, those are all waiting to be unlocked. They're waiting in the wings. Unlike the drummers, all of our performers use fireworks, which we have right here. These are our starting fireworks. You can think of fireworks as a type of resource that you need to spend in order to play your performers. On your turn, you're either going to take an action or pass for the round. The entire game lasts 3 rounds. Now, one of the actions that you can take on your turn is to play a performer to your street. Your street is everything here to the right of this dotted line. And you have 5 different columns. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you also have 3 rows. Upper, middle, and lower. You're going to play one of your performers to one of these spaces, keeping in mind that each column can only have 1 performer max. So if I take my devil and I place them right here in this spot, this column won't be able to have another performer put there. The spot that you play to corresponds with that particular spectator card. So if I play here or here, we're dealing with the action that's on that spectator card. That's the action that we're going to take. If we play in the middle, you actually place it on the card. So you'd place it here or here, and you would take that action that's in the middle there. And then here in the lower spot, here or here, you'd be playing to this card. And obviously here or here would be to this card, and so forth. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind is here in this 4th and this 5th column, those are too far away for your fireworks to work at the beginning of the game. You need to unlock the ability to use those 2 spaces. So here at the beginning, we really only have these 9 spots that we can play to. Let's say I play to this spot. In the 3rd column, right there in the middle. Every performer that you play has to be holding a firework. And there's 3 different types. There's orange, purple, and red. Those stand for something, like orange is regular, red is colorful, and purple is something that I can't remember. Whistling, that's it. So purple are whistling fireworks. And you can pick whichever color you want. The number of firework tokens that you need to spend depends on what type of performer you're using. It's shown right here on your player board. So if you're using a devil, that just means 1 firework. If you're using one of the characters, these guys, you need 2. The small beasts require 3, and the large beast requires 4. So here I'm playing a devil. I only need to spend 1, and I'm going to make it an orange. And as you can see, it just slips right in here onto the meeple. If I had to spend more, I would just discard those and just have them carry 1. The reason I chose orange was because of the action that I'm going to be taking. It's actually probably easier to see it up here. So let's say I came up there. That would be the action that I'm going to take from this spot. Now, each of these actions has 2 parts to it. The first part is the part that you always get to do no matter what character you put there and no matter what firework they're holding. The second part is actually conditional on what's ever in the middle there. So you can see here, this is saying that if you have an orange regular firework, then you'll get to do that second part. If I had put a red or a purple firework there, we wouldn't get to do the second part. That's the same thing here. On this one, you would need purple. Here, orange. On these 2, it's actually showing that you need to go there with something other than a devil. If you go here with a devil, you won't get to do the second part. If you go with a character or a smaller large beast, then you can. Now, each of these actions, including this one, is referring to one of these 4 regions on the board. These are called show actions, and so each of these is like a different type of show that we can perform. Each of them kind of work in a similar way. You're going to put a performer there depending on what the space calls for, and you're going to get some kind of reward. So let's say I was going here, right? That shows that fire symbol, so that's that show up there. In the solo or 2-player game, some spaces are blocked. But each of those white spaces shows like a type of performer or drummer, if you look at that top area, that we can place out there in order to get a specific bonus. So in that top row, those are drummers. We could pull those straight here from one of the 6 that's been unlocked. We could take one of these drummers, put them up there. The drummers don't need fireworks. And then we'd get a reward. In that case, we would get 4 sound points, and then we get to move on one of the show tracks, whichever one we went to. These tracks attached to each show, those correspond to like the number of followers that we have. And getting a lot of followers is going to help us when we score points later. Now, if you look at that outside ring, those all need devils with specific colors of fireworks. You would then get the reward that's shown on either side of the space. And again, you would get to move on whatever track is shown. You would get those followers. Now, I should note for these show actions, if you don't satisfy that middle requirement, you don't get the followers. You get everything else. You get all the other rewards, but you don't get any of the follower rewards unless you match what's ever in the middle there. So we did, so we will get it. And I think I'm actually going to use my character and go into the very middle there, in those middle 4 spaces, because those require characters. And I'm going to use a red firework. So I'll attach 1 red firework, but because it's a character, I have to spend 2. So I have to discard 1 more. And now I can place them in one of those 2 spots that need a red firework. I'll go in that spot. The 2 rewards I get are shown on either side of that line that it's on. That heart symbol and that star symbol. The heart is a like action. And so what I get to do is take one of these little tokens and I can put him on one of these social media posts. Over here, we're seeing different videos and photos that the crowd is taking, and the likes are shown on the top left. I can basically place this on any one of those and get the reward that's shown. I'm going to place right there, which just shows that I get 1 follower here at this show. This little star token here means that I am thrilling the crowd. And basically, I get to place this on one of these cards. And once any card has 3 of these on it, you get to take that off and add it out here. I'll just place it on this one. I now get the followers that are shown on either side of my character. So I'm getting one there, and then one down here. And there we go, that was my turn. It would go on to the next player's turn, or in a solo game, it would go over to the solo opponent, and we just keep going back and forth until everyone has passed. The second type of action that you can do is to activate your drummers. To do that, you have these two drum leaders, and so you're going to take one, and you're either going to play it here or here. If you play it to this top spot, that's how you activate these two cards here, these spectator cards, right? They're to the left of your street, so the performers can't activate those. These drummers can. And you can see these little arrows here. So when you play this here, if you have a drummer in this spot, you'll get to activate that action. And if you have a drummer in this spot, you'll get to activate that left action, just the left part. If, though, you've unlocked some more drummers, and again, you can't play them like that. You have to fill them in these rows in the leftmost spot. So if we had sort of filled these in like that, now I have both of these. I'll get to do both parts of that action. But again, down here, I'd only get to do this one unless I fill these in and had that. Also, when you do both actions, you get to ignore the requirement, right? Obviously, the drummers can't do fireworks because they have drumsticks in their hand. So you get to do both regardless of the requirement. Now, if you put it down here, instead of activating those cards, you'll instead get some music points. So you'll just count up any spot where you have a drummer. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right here, I would get 6 points on this soundtrack. And here, because I passed the star, I would get another one of those and I could put it on the cards. At the end of the round, this will also determine turn order for the next round. So on a turn, instead of doing a performance, you can do this instead. And, again, you have a second one, so each round you will be able to do both of those. You just get to decide when you want to do it. Now, I actually want to take a look at these two cards because they have some different actions on them that we haven't talked about. So if we were to do this right now, we have a drummer here, we would get to activate this. It shows a 2, and then it shows that symbol with the arrow. That's the symbol for how we unlock some of these locked troop members. The arrow means that we get to move them down one space. Or in the case of these drummers, moving them up. And if they get past the end here, like this guy would, boom, that's how they become unlocked. For the case of the drummer, we would get to decide where we want to put them in one of these 3 spots. For these devils and, the other performers, they would just come into our supply. But again, they have to move all the way down to the end. At least when using that action. And we get to do that twice. Whoops. This icon here means that we can take any one and move them into an empty spot, any empty spot. So I could, for instance, take this devil and move them up here. That's a way of sort of leaping ahead in the line a little bit. There's an even more powerful action, which is shown like right there, that icon right there, where you can just take any of your locked performers and you can just unlock them. Even your big beast here you could do, or one of your characters. That icon is also shown right here. And that's something I didn't mention about these followers. As you move up these tracks, you get whatever is shown above it. So once I get another follower here, I'll get a red firework into my supply. Here, I'll get to do that unlock, that very powerful unlock, where I could just take one of my characters or one of my performers. Here, That's that heart symbol. That's another like that I get to put on one of these social media posts. So that's another reason why you want to move up this track as you get these things. And every round, new cards will be coming out here, as well as when we get these star symbols, these thrill markers on our cards. Once there's 3 on a card, we put it out into one of these locations. The last major action that I want to talk about is this, the little camera symbol. That lets us go to, again, one of these social media posts and put our camera tokens out on them. This is going to be one of the ways in which we score points. So once again, if I did this, I would have a drummer right here, which would give me that ability. So I would come to these cards, and you can see at the bottom of these cards, they show like a particular requirement to place a camera token down. So it might be a particular type of performer that you use to activate this action. So in this case, we used a drummer to activate this action. So look at that. We could place our marker right there. You can see some of them show a particular color of firework. Some of them show a particular performer. We want to get our cameras over there because when the social media wall scores, we're going to get points for however many likes that we have on all of the cards. We're going to add up the likes that are on all of the cards that have at least one of our camera tokens on them. So right now I would just have 1. But, maybe I was on a couple more cards. Those cards had a few more likes on them. Maybe I had like 4 likes in total. We would then come to our board here and we would look to see how many of these little heart symbols are uncovered. So as we start to take some of these people off, these little hearts get uncovered, at least here on this left side. So let's say it was like this. I had sort of unlocked these. There would be 3 hearts showing. So it would be the 4 hearts I had out here times those 3, I would get 12 points. And that wall is going to score once every one of those 5, these are just here because it's a 2-player game blocking those spaces. But once all 5 of those cards have at least 1 camera token on them, or once all the like spaces are filled. Those are the 2 conditions in which this wall will score. And then at the end of the game, it'll score again. One more cool thing that I want you to know is that when you unlock at least one of your small beasts or your large beast, you'll get to take a card, either a small beast card or a large beast card. And that's going to give your beast an extra special ability. So maybe I would take this card, just add it to the side of my board. And now when I play this out here, onto my street to activate something, I'll get an additional benefit, which in this case would just be getting to put a light token out. Now, once everyone is passed, we get to do some scoring. The first type of scoring is like the round scoring, and that's shown over here. So you can see we have rounds 1, 2, and 3, and over on the side there, we have some randomized scoring conditions. For the first round there, it is the number of red fireworks that you have out here in the plaza on the board. And that's why I wanted to put my character out there and give them the red firework. And if you look to the side of the scoring tile, it shows you there that Devil's holding a firework, that just counts as 1. But if you have characters or small beasts holding fireworks, that counts as 2. And then the large beast counts as 3. So because that's a character, we actually have 2 red fireworks. And if we have the most, again, at the end of the round, then we're going to get those 4 points. And we're going to multiply that by the number of fireworks. So right now, we would get 4 times 2, 8 points. Then who's ever in second place will get 3 points, and who's ever in third place will get 2. In round 2 here, it's going to be purple fireworks, and then round 3, it's just going to be devil characters, or devil performers. Once we've completed that scoring, we're then going to get to pick one of the 4 shows, and we'll get to score that for ourselves. We'll then flip our token over to show that we've already scored that. Then in the second round, we'll get to pick a different one to score. So maybe we'd score this one. And then at the end of the game, at the end of the third round, we'll get to score the other 2 that we haven't scored already. So that's how these shows score. And these tiles here show exactly how they score. So for example, here, let's say I had my dragon there. Give them a little firework. And then I had a character right there. Oops. And then let's say my follower marker was here. All right. So I flip that over and now I'm going to score this. What this is basically saying is that we're going to score for every other character that is in that particular wedge. There's sort of 4 wedges here. And we're going to score 3 points for every other character that's in a wedge. So I could look at my dragon and be like, well, there's 1 other character there, so I'd get 3 points. And then I could score for my character, and there's also 1 other character in there with them, so that'd be another 3 points. Now your followers here show how many characters you can score like that. So if I was down here, I'd only pass that 1, I would only get to score 1 of them, so I would only get 3 points. But if I'm like way over here and I had more in there, I could score up to 3. So that's one of the reasons why we want to move down this track to be able to score more points. And each of these works in a similar way. You just have to read the random tile that came out that shows the particular scoring conditions. After you've done that scoring, the last bit of scoring is you're going to lose 3 points for each one of the cards here in the middle of your street that you don't have a character on. So let's say it ended like this, you know, I had other characters, you know, there and there. And so I have someone on this card, but I don't have someone on this card. I would lose 3 points for that. But as long as I had someone else on that card, then I wouldn't lose any points. Once you're finished with that scoring, you're then going to have some sort of cleanup. You're going to get extra fireworks based on how many are showing here. So once again, as we start to remove these people and unlock them, you can see it starts showing more fireworks, different colors. And so we look there, that's how many fireworks we're going to get to add to whatever we had left over. And then these cards slide. So the ones in the middle, we get our characters back. And that's the other important thing to remember. The characters that we put here, we get those back, or the performers. The ones that you put out here onto the board, they stay out here, and they're out here for the rest of the game. But anything you put here, you get back. You get these guys back, obviously. And then the cards slide. So in the middle here, they slide to the right, and then we get a new card right there. So there we go. And then the ones on the top and the bottom, they slide to the left. So these would fall off and get discarded. These would move over. And then you would draw from your personal pile. You would just draw that. Whoops, this is a top card, so this is the one that would go over here. You have top and bottom cards, and these are kind of personalized. So there we go. This one would go right there. Lastly, let's take a quick look at the solo mode. You pretty much set up the game just like you would for a 2-player game. On the solo opponent's turn, you're just going to flip the top card of their decision deck. You're pretty much just going to perform the action as usual. If it's a show action like this one, you're going to go through a little bit of a decision tree in order to figure out what performer to use, which firework to use, and what spot to go on to. At the beginning of the game, you choose one of these follower tracks to be their favored one, and we chose that one. It's based on the topmost social media post. So because this is their favorite track, they want to go to a space that's going to allow them to move forward on this. For this particular show that's up there, there's basically 4 different spots. They're then going to pick a spot based on the round score tile. So like we said before, this is going to be a red firework, so they want to go to a space where they can play a red firework. If there wasn't one, then they'd go down to the second scoring tile and finally to the third scoring tile. But here there is one, so it looks like they're going to be placing their character in that spot. They would then take the rewards as usual. So here you can see it's going to get a like token. Again, to figure out where you'd place it, you would go through a little bit of a process. It would place it on one that has a camera token of its own on it. If there were multiple places, then it'll pick one where you don't have a camera token. And then it's going to go for one where it can move on its favored track. That would be that one in this case. You can then see at the top there, it's gaining a thrilled token. When it gets one of these, it places it on top of its spectator deck. Once there's 3 on there, then one of these cards will go out. Then it'll get to move on the 2 adjacent follower tracks. Now, depending on your difficulty level, that's going to determine how many times it's going to play each round. If you're playing on average difficulty, then it's going to play 3 times and then pass in the first round. Then it's going to play 4 times and then 5 times in the final round. And that's it. Then it would come back to us. We would get to pick an action and go through that again. At the end of the 3rd round, once you've scored everything up, you just see who has the most fame points, and that is the winner. And there you go. That was a quick overview of Diables. I'd like to thank all the financial supporters of Totally Tabled, including the totally radical Jeff Fitzsimmons, Hextra, John Kohler, Scott Myers, Kevin Qualls, and Jay Satterwhite, as well as the totally bodacious Mart Spitzig. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can join on YouTube or my Patreon at www.patreon.com/totallytabled. You'll gain access to my new exclusive podcast, Table Talk, as well as unboxing videos and whatever extra stuff I come up with. As always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.